Look, there's a lot of trash talk after the first couple weeks, Pete. You've
No, 1 week. You mushed me. You mushed me after 1 week. So
I told you. By the way, I didn't have a good week that week.
You want me to put the Italian whammy on you?
Oh, what are you doing? The Italian pepper?
Yeah,
you bring out the hot pepper?
You want that? Because I need you to go have a really bad week, and I'm going to have a good week.
Pete used to use the Paisan passion on me. Like, he used to, like, kind of mush me that way. Then he realized after 23andMe that I've got more Italian in me than Irish.
Brady more Italian than Pete. Who would have thought, huh?
Yeah. I don't think so.
I'm 33% Sicilian, so I'm in the game as well. Let's go to Thursday Night Football. Bears Commanders. Okay. Bears have allowed an NFL record 25 or more points in 14 straight games. That coincides with their 14-game losing skid.
To me, this is a bad matchup for the Bears. You know, the offensive line has struggled at times, and I know Justin Fields is mobile, and they looked better last week versus Denver, but blowing a lead like that, and I think there's still so many questions around this team. Chase Claypool and his situation, not even being a part of the team right now. They're just devoid of playmakers. The offense still struggles. I think that front for Washington is going to make it really hard to have much productivity for Chicago. So I'll lay the 5.5 points here with Washington.
I'm going to lay the 5.5 too. And I thought one of the best things that happened last week was Sam Howell bounced back. Yeah. He struggled in a big way the week before against Buffalo. Came back, played well against Philadelphia. Didn't win the game, but they played well.
You could have made the case they should have won the game.
Probably should have won the game. They played well, and I think I'm with you on that defensive front, getting after Fields, and that Bears offensive line isn't great. The Bears defense is really bad, as you noted, Chris. I think Howell will play well here and they'll cover the number.
Some in Chicago saying because of the short week there weren't any moves made, but if they lose this game, that could be the case this upcoming week. You see that happening? Head coach?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
But he didn't kick a field goal to take the lead late, though. We did have that problem.
Yeah, that was what you were
the 4th and 1 instead of.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't make much sense looking back on it. You know, might have prolonged the game. Who knows if they win?
Kick the field goal.
I'm with you. I'm not against
We both agree.
Yeah. All right, Pete thinks Eberflus is safe, at least for now, moving forward into next week. Let's go to Sunday. We have an interesting London game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. This one is actually on NFL Network. The Jags and the Bills. Buffalo, a 5.5-point favorite. They've won their last 3 by 28+.
Yeah, and Jacksonville's staying over in London for back-to-back games now. It will be interesting to see what advantage that gives them, if any, Pete. But the Bills are back. You know, after that stumble week 1, I think we look at this team out. Even though their secondary's banged up, they've been able to overcome that. And we've talked about the issues that the Jacksonville Jaguars have had on their offensive line. So until I see something more out of the Jags offense, I can't imagine that they're going to be able to go blow for blow with the Buffalo Bills. So I think this one ends up being a little lower scoring, at least below this over-under number. But I'm going to lay the 5.5 of the Bills.
I'm going to lay the 5.5 too, but I'm on the other side when it comes to the over-under. I think this is going to be a loose game.
Wait, it's going to get loose?
Oh, it's getting loose.
I don't think Jacksonville will stop. I don't think Jacksonville stops the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, but I think Jacksonville will get the offense going. You mentioned the offensive line. Cam Robinson's back this week. How do they play it? You know, and they benched the left guard last week, played Tyler Shatley. They were better up front last week as well. So I do think they're getting there on the offensive line. So I think they'll score. No Tre'Davious White is big in that secondary. So it gets a little.
There it was. I don't know what you're.
The best sandwich, by the way, a loose meat sandwich.
Oh, so there we go. We're going back to Iowa. Here we go.
Let's go to Sunday Night Football. Oh, what a doozy this is. The Cowboys at the 49ers, and the 49ers have eliminated the Cowboys each of the last 2 seasons in the postseason.
Yeah, look, they're the best team in football right now. Brock Purdy is playing flawless. He's not making any mistakes. He's not necessarily put into a position where he's going to. And I don't know that you're going to see the Dallas Cowboys defense do that, even though, again, these teams, if you look at their staffs, they have some history. Dan Quinn was defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, so he knows everything about the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan's system. But it's in part, as much as we look at the numbers for Purdy and how well he's played, Pete, Christian McCaffrey's playing at an MVP level. We're not talking about that enough right now. He's a tough matchup for this Dallas Cowboys defense. I think he'll end up being ultimately the difference maker. It's not just Brock Purdy in this one. So I'm going to lay the 3.5 points with the 49ers here playing at home.
I'm going to lay the 3.5 as well. And you mentioned it. Brock Purdy, no mistakes. He's taking care of the football.
Are you coming around on him, Pete?
It's got time. I mean, I thought he was good. I just didn't think he was Joe Montana like everybody else was making him out to be.
Oh, come on. Nobody's making him out to be Joe Montana.
Before the season.
There's some 49ers fans, some that work here at CBS that would say he's,
yeah. This is a big game for Dak Prescott. After what happened in the postseason last year, he's got to go there and prove to people that he can play in these big games, in the big moments, and not make the mistakes that he's made. Having said that, I think the 49ers are the best team in the league. They have the most stars of any team, and I think they're going to show up and win this game -3.5.
By the way, the under, I don't know if you like it. I love it. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game.
I would lean to the under as well.
All right, under 45. The guys both like that. Monday Night Football. It's the Packers, slight favorite in Vegas against the Raiders. Jimmy G still in concussion protocol as of Wednesday.
As of Wednesday, I'm kind of suspecting he will be eventually back there into play. And even if that's the case, I thought Aiden O'Connell did enough. He'll clean up some of those mistakes moving forward. For the Green Bay Packers, I'm always curious, can they stop the rushing attack? I think Josh Jacobs is going to get a little more carries in this one. I'm going to go and take the 1.5, the Raiders, the home underdog here.
I'm not. I'm going to take the Packers.
That's not surprising.
Well, they have the extra time off.
Sure.
And I think that'll help them a little bit. They get some guys back. They were just ravaged. They've been ravaged by injuries. I do think they get back on track here. I don't think the Raiders are a better team than them, and so I'm going to lay the points. I think they'll play much better. Jordan Love will play much better in this game than
lowest completion percentage this season in the NFL, 56%.
He hits a lot of big shots and misses a lot of easy ones.
Yeah, well, Pete's been riding on him the whole time, so he's going to continue to be patient with it. You know how stubborn Pete is. He'll not jump off that bandwagon.
If he goes rotten, believe me, I'll say it. I can say things like that, and I promise you it won't be personal.
It was starting to smell spoiled a little bit last week.
Yeah, last Thursday.
They had no offensive linemen on the field.
Lions ran him out of their own building.
They had no offensive linemen on the field.
Ran him out of the building.
But got all that time off Monday night. Packers have a Monday night streak going, so let's see if it keeps going. Let's recap the picks. They agree on the first 3 games that we picked here on the Commanders, on the Bills, and on the 49ers, but do not agree on that Monday night game between the Packers and the Raiders. Slate. Those are the games we are going to pick right now with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. Ravens at the Steelers. Ravens 4-point favorites here. Kenny Pickett trying to practice with that bone bruise in his knee.
Yeah, it's going to be painful. I mean, bone bruises typically are. I don't know how mobile he'll be. That's kind of part of his game, too. And especially when there isn't any separation offensively, and the offensive line hasn't played well. So he's up against it. I think this Baltimore Ravens defense has played well enough to be able to shut them down. And on the flip side, I think the Steelers' defense is going to have a hard time stopping Lamar Jackson in this offense for Baltimore. So I'll gladly take the favorite here and lay the, 3.5 points at this point. We got over 4 points in this case. I just feel more confident with what Baltimore is as opposed to where Pittsburgh's at. And Pete, I got to ask you, there's a lot of heat right now around Matt Canada as their play caller.
Well, there should be. I mean, it's been a bad offense, but what about the defense last week? You're playing an offense with the Texans who had 4 backups on the offensive line, and you didn't win the game and didn't dominate.
And a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it was just awful. I think they regroup. I think the defense comes back. Mike Tomlin's too good a coach. I think he's going to get the defense back, and they're going to find a way to win this game. And by the way, the Ravens, what are they doing? Playing back-to-back road games.
They're already 2-0 on the road in the division.
That's right. Yeah, which I'm not sure that matters quite as much. The other concern is that they're going to be in padded practices this week in Pittsburgh because apparently they weren't tough enough versus Houston last week.
Which is a good sign. I like that.
Is that a good sign?
Hit somebody.
Ah, jeez.
Hit somebody.
You want to hit them when it matters.
Yeah.
By the way, each of the last 6 meetings between these two have been decided by 5 or fewer. Pitt has won 5 of those 6 games. Also at 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS, Titans and Colts. This is a line that has swung. The Colts were a slight favorite. Now the Titans are a slight favorite, and these are, of course, 2 of the 2-2 teams in that division. All 4 of those teams tied.
Yeah, everyone at 500. I'm going to leave the point here with the Tennessee Titans. I just think they're going to be a tougher out given what we know about the Titans. And, like, Derrick Henry's going to be able to run the football. The defense will be able to get after, I think, Anthony Richardson, rookie quarterback playing at home. But it's a tight game. I think the Titans right now have shown to be the better team between the two. So I'll lay the point.
I'm with you. I think they're going to go in there and be physical and give Henry the ball and be the sledgehammer that they are. Look, they got back to that a little bit last week against the Bengals. They're going to run the football, and their defense is really good. I think it's going to be a problem for Richardson, so I'll lay the point as well. This team is, I mean, what they did last week, that's a Mike Vrabel special, man. People start counting them out, and then they go back and they just dominate a game against what should be a good Bengals team.
By the way, the over-under at 42.5, I love the under for this game. I think it'll be a lower scoring game between the two. All
right, Colts looking to snap that 7-game home losing skid. Also 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS, Saints at Patriots. Hoodie coming off worst loss as a head coach. Saints have more turnovers than touchdowns. That's why this is basically a pick 'em here in Foxborough.
Well, yeah, but it's fixable. A lot of the mistakes right now in the way they're playing, and I think Derek Carr will be a little healthier. He'll play better. He's going up against a defense that doesn't have Matthew Judon as their best rusher. Christian Gonzalez might not be playing. He's their best cover corner. They're making the move for J.C. Jackson. We'll see how quickly they can get him in. I just think the Saints are a better roster, better team, and so I'll gladly lay the point here. I think they'll find a way of winning this one and covering this number?
I'm going to Belichick. I just think when things go really badly for his team, he finds a way to regroup. They're not a good football team. They don't have a lot of talent. I said it the other day. The problem with Belichick is Belichick, the GM, and the roster isn't very good. But I think they'll find a way to keep this close. This is going to be a low-scoring game too. Two defensive teams, and I think the Patriots will find a way to win it late with a field goal.
A total of 40. That's like Big Ten West territory.
It's like any game Iowa plays.
23-20.
Exactly. Well, every game Iowa plays now it's like 36 is the total. Let's go to Giants, Dolphins, total higher there because the Dolphins have that great offense, but last week got exposed by the Buffalo Bills. This is the biggest spread of the week. The Giants are the only team that's 0-4 against the spread this season.
Yeah, you wonder, too, how they're going to be able to protect Daniel Jones based on giving up 11 sacks just a week ago. I mean, their offense looked abysmal. And if they don't have Saquon Barkley back, which I would assume based on him almost playing this past week, he should be back. That's going to be a difference maker for this offense. They've really missed his production. Daniel Jones struggles without him. But I look at this Dolphins team, and I don't know that the defense in New York's going to be able to hang with this group. I think they're going to be able to respond, and I'm going to go ahead and lay the 10.5 points. It's a big number, Pete, but I think based on what we've seen from Miami, they're very capable of covering this number.
Two rookie corners against that offense is going to be a problem for the Giants. I mean, those guys on the back end are going to be matched up in a lot of situations, and we know what they do. They're very aggressive. They actually played more zone the other night, which was surprising, but maybe that's because they do have the two rookie corners. But Tyreek Hill and Waddle are going to get going in this game. I think this is a blowout. And again, though, you got to caution because this is the NFL. One team looked awful. They look so bad, and it's 10.5. I figured this would be 12 or 13 at one point.
You think the line looks fishy?
It does, but I'm still laying it.
I mean, it's 10.5 is a big number.
I'm laying it.
Okay, I'm laying it too, but...
Highest scoring offense, Dolphins. Lowest scoring offense, the Giants. They only average 11.5 points per. Let's move to the Panthers and the Lions. Interesting, last year these teams played week 16, I think. Panthers ran for 320 yards against the Lions. This season, totally different for the Lions. They have a great rush defense. They've only given up 243 rushing yards this season.
Look, they get pressure too. You know, Aiden Hutchinson can get after you off of the edge. They get some other players back too on defense coming off of the edge, but this to me is another big number. But I think I feel safe laying it with the Detroit Lions. I think it's a tough matchup for Carolina. They don't have a bunch of different difference makers on the outside. They've had to really rely on Thielen, who got banged up last week with an ankle injury. So I don't imagine Carolina's able to run the football the way it did the last time these two teams played. I'm going to lay the 9 points, and I like the over. And let's not forget too, Jameson Williams is coming back too for Detroit. Keep an eye on how he matches up.
And that's a big part of their offense if he's ready to go, because he has the speed that they really lack down the field, so that'll open everything else up. I think this is going to be ugly. I think Bryce Young is having problems. He's not playing great football. The offensive line, you watched them last week. They're not very good. Hutchinson will get after him. I'll lay the points. And this is another big number, but I'm going to lay it anyways.
Not only have the Panthers not won yet this season, they haven't covered against the spread either. One more game in the early window, 1 o'clock Eastern time. It's interesting. Texans at Falcons, two young studs. The top two guys in the rookie offensive player of the year race, C.J. Stroud one side, Brian Robinson the other.
Yeah, and well, not Brian Robinson, Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson.
There we go. The other B. Robinson. I'm going to lay the points here with the Texans. I like what I've seen from them so far. This group has been scrappy. D'Amico Ryans is putting everyone in a position to succeed, and despite the injuries, despite some of the things they've dealt with, they've still been able to protect C.J. Stroud. He's lighting teams up right now. So I don't know that this Atlanta Falcons defensive front threatens them really in any way. They're not one of the better pass rushing teams. So for that reason, I think the Texans are going to be able to go in there, pitch the football around a little bit, and be able to cover that number.
This is one of the perfect NFL formula games. You have a team that played early on Sunday. Everybody watched it. They saw how bad they looked. They got to fly back, long trip. You saw the Texans dominate the Steelers. Oh, my God, look how good they are. And now they go there and they're getting points. Okay? I'm laying it. I think the Falcons will show up. They'll play hard. They'll play tough. They'll get after C.J. Stroud a little bit because that offensive line is held up. But can it continue to hold up? That's the question. That's a legitimate
question. What are the Falcons, the 85 Bears now?
But Brady Jarrett can get after the quarterback.
Okay.
So I do think that they're going to find a way to win this game. I'll take the Falcons. This is a formula game. Be careful.
Now, whose formula is that? Yours?
Mine.
You're literally losing in our picks right now. You use these formulas like they work.
This one works.
Okay. That formula gets you 2 games under 500.
In fact, yeah, I really like this game. Let's see.
Okay.
That formula reminds me of something else where you have to have subsequent formulas to back up the first formula that can't cover the initial one. Yeah.
Look, when I split the atom, I used a bunch of formulas back in the day, okay?
We will get best bets from these guys a little bit later. Sounds like that could be the best bet for Pete. Some agreement here. They like the Titans -1 at the Colts. Also on the Dolphins -10.5. Biggest spread of the week at home against the lowly Giants. And the Lions -9 at home against the Panthers. That's the second largest spread of the week. Well, he basically said the same thing was going to happen to the Jets this season. This is what he said. The Jets did that this year. You watch Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Well, he probably didn't see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming. Aaron Rodgers out for the season, and Zach Wilson now taking over, and both these teams sitting on 1 win. The Jets are at the Broncos this week. Denver, a slight 1.5-point favorite.
Yeah, and the odd thing is, the difference is, Denver gets their first win last week, and you're kind of coming away going, oh, okay, like maybe it's like a jar of pickles, right? You get that first one out, the rest start falling out after it. And for the Jets, you lose the game, and yet there's almost like a moral victory behind it because Zach Wilson played well enough, I think, for them to beat Kansas City. Robert Saleh came out and said Breece Hall's no longer on a pitch count. That's a good thing for the Jets. They'll be able to utilize him more. I like the Broncos in this spot, though. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 1.5 points. I think they've got that jar of pickles. There's more pickles coming out. There's more pickles coming out.
Now, if you're holding a jar of pickles like this and you take one out, how are they falling out? I don't get it.
We got to turn them upside down so it's all packed in there.
I know, Brady. I don't know. I've never heard that one before. Never heard that one
That's
before.
an Ohio staple, the jar of pickles.
I actually got it from a guy in Iowa, actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
All right. I'm going to take the Jets. I think that defense will go there and slow down that offense, and the Denver defense can make anybody look good, including Zach Wilson. And he played better last week. He won't have to play great. They'll find a way to win the game. I think their defense will get the job done. I'll take the Jets.
Last in opponents' points per game, yards per game, and yards per play this season, that Denver defense. That's at 4:25 Eastern on CBS, as is this one. The Chiefs -4 at the Vikings. Patrick Mahomes, this is crazy. This is an amazing stat. Shows his dominance and the Chiefs' dominance. When facing teams that are multiple games under 500, he's 24-0 in his career. Doesn't lose to bad teams.
No, they don't. They don't play down to their opponent. That's really what it comes down to. So in this case, this is easy for me. The Chiefs are the better team right now. The Vikings are coming off their first win. If the Chiefs can find a way of taking away Justin Jefferson, that's where this offense gets interesting for Minnesota. And can they run the football effective enough? They did versus Carolina. It'll be a big challenge, I think, versus Kansas City. Tough place to play, though. The defense is starting to come along. They bring more pressure as far as blitz than anyone. We'll see how Mahomes and company handles that, but I'm laying the 4 points with them. I also think a lower scoring game.
Oh, I think this is going to get crazy loose, and I know the number's big.
Crazy loose?
Yes. Both teams will score points.
You think?
Yes. Flores will attack Mahomes. We know that. That's what he does. Mahomes eats that alive. He's going to throw for, this is finally the game where he's going to throw for about 350 and 3 or 4 and light them up. And the other side, Kirk Cousins will play well, but he won't have enough. I'll take the Chiefs.
I'm going to tell you what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot more 3-down fronts, drop 8 in coverage. And they're not going to allow him what he's
That's not what he does, though.
It's not what he has done, right. But each week, if you watch him, he does something entirely different. Trust me on this. They will not pressure quite as much. They will show it, they'll bring it,
if they do pressure,
drop a lot out.
If they do pressure, that's stupid because that's the way to slow them down.
We're both on the same side of this one. I'm just telling you how the game's going to play out. So maybe you should take some advice.
Did you call Flores and get the information from him already?
You guys have the same pick, and you're still somehow arguing.
He's arguing with me. I didn't start it. He started it.
That was the CBS 4:25 Eastern. There are a couple other 4:05 p starts. Bengals -3 at the Cards. Is this the get-right game for Cincinnati, finally?
I hope so. They're my Super Bowl pick. If it's not this one, then that's it. That's a wrap.
By week 5.
That's a wrap. So I have to lay the 3 points here with Cincinnati and believe that they will find a way of not only winning but covering this number and finally becoming the team that we thought they'd be. But every single week, you got to feel impressed by what you see from the Arizona Cardinals, the way Josh Dobbs battles, the way the defense battles. But I think this is one where the Bengals get a win. They start maybe building a little momentum.
And then they play Seattle next week, then they get the bye at home, Seattle. So this could be an opportunity to turn things around. Look, they're his Super Bowl pick. I picked them to win 1-10. So we both could be eliminated this season.
Only one?
Only one. We both could be eliminated this week, because if they don't win this week, they're done.
You're running out of years.
They're done.
He doesn't ever pick him to win, though. He makes this proclamation, but
I'll be honest with you. I'm glad I didn't pick them this year to win. But they win this week, and they stay alive. I think they handled it.
Even when they were in the Super Bowl, Pete picked against them in that game. Eagles are at the Rams this week as well. Another 4:05 p.m. Eastern time start. Cooper Kupp is back at practice for the Rams. Hopefully he can make his season debut this week.
Yeah, that's big, and I think you add him to Puka Nacua, and I think that makes a tandem that's going to be tough to stop. Give Sean McVay a lot of credit too. They've kind of patched together this offensive line. This though is where there's a mismatch. I think the Philly defensive front's going to get after Matt Stafford. They're going to have a hard time pressuring him. I don't know how effective he's going to be in the passing game. I think on the flip side, you're going to see the Philadelphia Eagles run the ball down their throat, hit some big shots, and so I'm going to lay the 4.5 points here with the Eagles on the road.
I'm going to take the 4.5. Long trip. The Eagles haven't looked great. They've been good, but they haven't looked great as an undefeated team. They haven't been dominant. I'm going to take the Rams to hang around. Field goal game. Eagles win it. I'll take the 4.5.
What undefeated team has been dominant? San Francisco? Is that the only one?
Yeah, it's the only one.
Oh, that's the only other one, right? I mean, it's just those two teams undefeated.
We usually have an undefeated
I do
team
have
and they
trivia
look
for you, though, Pete. Philadelphia can become the first Super Bowl loser to start the next season 5-0 since it's been a long time. Decades.
Decades? Let's see.
Come on.
Steelers?
91 Bills.
91 Bills did it.
Yeah. You were covering the NFL back then.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, it's time for best bets. Pete, was I right? Was that your best bet earlier? It sounded like your formula was really...
Formula Falcons. That's what it is this
Formula
week.
Falcons?
It's going to play exactly how I think it will play out. They will get after the quarterback a little bit. That offensive line will struggle. Stroud won't look as good. I'll take the Falcons. Best bet.
Okay. I'm laying the 5.5 of the Bills across the pond, taking on the Jaguars. Just tough mismatch, I think, for that defensive line, in particular for Jacksonville. So I think the Bills continue on this roll right now, and they cover that spread.
I got lucky. By the way, I hit my best bet last week. I had the Rams. It was a blowout, and then they ended up in overtime, but they still won. Did you hit your best bet last week?
I'm pretty sure I did, didn't I?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm beating you in picks, but I would imagine that I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Brady 2 games over 500, Pete 2 games under, but he's got his formula.
Yeah, he's your
Formula. Here
Rolling
comes
with
the
it this
formula
week.
this
Get
week,
ready for
baby.
more formulas
Yeah.
after this formula doesn't work.
Falcons minus
I go into the
2.5.
lab and I find the formulas.
All right, so that's the pick for
Which
Pete
lab?
Prisco
Which
and
country
Brady
is that
Quinn. Wait, Noah, our producer, did not believe that we could pick every game in 30 minutes.
He's wrong.
We did it. These are the late afternoon picks along with the best bet for the fellas. They agree on the Chiefs -4 at the Vikings and the Bengals -3 at the Cards.